Drones save Ukrainian soldiers near Pokrovsk. It is happening right now. We are looking at breaking reports dated February 3rd, 2026. And let me tell you, if you thought you knew what modern warfare looked like, you need to hear this. Before we jump in, I have to appeal to our audience that supports Ukraine. Please subscribe to Defense Reports. It's your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex. Join me with Aria in the latest podcast by Defense Report for sharp, no-nonsense breakdowns of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today we're going to cover, well, something that feels like it was ripped straight out of a sci-fi thriller, but it is very, very real. Picture this. A Russian sabotage group thinks they've secured a win. They've captured 4 Ukrainian defenders near the critical logistics hub of Pokrovsk. They are escorting them back to enemy lines, moving through the gray zone, probably feeling pretty confident. But they didn't know they were being watched from above. Suddenly, the air just fills with the sound that's becoming the defining noise of this war, the angry buzz of a swarm. And I don't mean 1 or 2 drones. I mean the sky literally humming with lethal intent.
It's a terrifying prospect for any soldier on the ground. The reports we're looking at today describe a fundamental shift in how lives are saved in what they're calling the death zone. We aren't just talking about a single lucky break. We're diving deep into what's being called the Pokrovsk paradigm.
The Pokrovsk paradigm. I mean, it's a catchy title, but the reality behind it is gritty and incredibly high stakes. We're analyzing how Ukraine is using robotic shields, these ground drones that look like armored caskets, and swarms of FPVs to save lives in a brutal war of attrition.
Exactly.
This is really about the pivot from, human heroism to robotic preservation.
Precisely. We have a stack of sources here, from the 7th Air Assault Corps reports to deep dive analyses on unmanned systems. And they all paint a picture of a battlefield where the traditional human rescue mission is becoming, obsolete. The risk calculation has shifted entirely. We're seeing Ukrainian ingenuity just turning the tide by valuing life over metal.
Okay, so let's start with the event that just happened. February 2nd, 2026. What exactly went down near Pokrovsk? Because getting captured, that usually means the game is over.
The situation near Pokrovsk has been incredibly tense. We know Russian forces have been trying to encircle the city for months because it's such a vital logistics hub. But on February 2nd, a Russian sabotage and reconnaissance group, an SRG, assaulted a Ukrainian observation post.
And just to clarify for everyone listening, these SRGs aren't conscripts. These are professional, small, lethal units designed to move quietly and cause havoc.
That's right, they're the tip of the spear. And in this assault, they managed to capture 4 Ukrainian soldiers from the 7th Air Assault Corps. The Russians began escorting these prisoners back towards their own lines. Now, historically, once you're taken into the gray zone or behind enemy lines, your chances of rescue plummet to near 0.
Right, because sending a squad in to get them is just a mathematical loss. You risk losing 10 people to save 4. It's a suicide mission.
That's the traditional calculus. But this is where the transparent battlefield comes into play. An aerial reconnaissance unit was on patrol and spotted the group. They saw the Russians moving with the captives.
And this is where the speed of response is so critical. In the old days, and by old days I mean, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
You'd have to radio it in, organize a quick reaction force, brief them, gear up. By then, the prisoners are long gone.
Instead, that OD loop, observe, orient, decide, act, it was compressed instantly. The call went out immediately to drone operators. Strike drones from multiple units, specifically 25th Airborne and the 68th Jaeger Brigades, were dispatched. And they didn't just send one to take a pot shot.
The sources say it was a swarm, over 10 FPV drones. I want you to just imagine that sound. 1 drone sounds like a weed whacker. 10 drones diving at you. That's not just noise, that's psychological dominance.
And that chaos was the weapon. The report states clearly that the approach of this swarm disoriented the enemy. We talk about kinetic effects, blowing things up.
Right.
But this was a cognitive effect. The Russians were suddenly in what you'd call an overwhelming threat environment. They couldn't guard the prisoners and fight off 10 kamikaze drones at the same time.
It's the ultimate dilemma. Hold on to your prize and get blown up, or dive for cover and live.
They chose survival. The Russians dove into bushes and trenches to hide from the swarm. And in that split second of chaos, the 4 Ukrainian soldiers saw their opening. They broke free. They ran back toward friendly lines.
That is just incredible. It's literally air support acting as a diversionary force, but with lethal intent. So what happened to the Russian sabotage group? Did they get away?
They did not. The drones didn't just scare them, they engaged them. The group was destroyed. But the key takeaway here isn't the kill count. It's that the drones created a window of opportunity that human soldiers never could have, not without taking massive casualties. It just shows you how nimble the Ukrainian command structure has become.
It really does feel like we're watching a new doctrine being written in real time. You mentioned earlier that this isn't just luck, it's something more structural.
It is. I've been thinking of it as the mass of distraction.
Okay, let's unpack this math. Because to me, it just sounds like send a lot of drones, but you're saying there's a specific probability model at work here.
It's all about saturation. Think about it this way. If you have one threat, a single soldier can focus on it. They can aim, they can dodge. But if D is the number of drones, the probability of a target successfully engaging any one threat drops exponentially as that number goes up.
So 10 drones isn't just 10 times harder to deal with, it's infinitely harder because your brain just can't process the threats fast enough.
Exactly. It creates cognitive overload. The Russians were mathematically guaranteed to fail at controlling that situation. They physically could not track all the vectors of attack while also maintaining control of the hostages.
And we also have to look at that time element you mentioned, the compression of the loop.
The time between identifying those captives and deploying the swarm was likely just minutes. This effectively neutralizes the enemy's ability to conduct these small group infiltrations. If you can be spotted and swarmed in 5 minutes anywhere on the front line, you can't move prisoners, you can't move equipment. It denies the enemy the ability to operate in the open.
It sounds like the ultimate no button for any kind of enemy infantry operation. But this rescue was from the air. There's another story in our sources that I found even more compelling because it happened on the ground, and it deals with a scenario that is usually a death sentence.
Ah, yes. The MEUL operation. This is where we shift from the swarm to the robotic casket.
Robotic casket is a terrifying name, frankly, but in this case, it was a casket that saved a life. This happened back in November 2025. Set the scene for us.
So you have a wounded Ukrainian soldier. He is stranded behind enemy lines. Not for an hour, not for a day. He's out there for 33 days.
33 days. That is, I can't even imagine the psychological toll. He's wounded, probably has a tourniquet on, and he's hiding in a dugout surrounded by Russians.
Correct. And he survived because aerial drones were dropping him supplies, food, water, batteries for his radio. It shows you the persistence of these drone operators. They just refused to give up on him, but they couldn't get him out physically.
The sources say they tried to send human rescue teams, right?
They did. 6 attempts. 6 separate times they tried to send a squad to extract him, and all of them failed due to heavy Russian fire and just dense minefields.
Which goes back to what we were saying, sending humans to save humans in this death zone is becoming impossible.
So the 1st Medical Battalion decides to try something that had never been done before. They deploy the MEUL UGV.
For the listener who hasn't seen the photos in the report, can you describe this thing?
Imagine an ATV frame, very low to the ground, but instead of a seat and handlebars, it has this low-profile armored capsule on top. It looked like a metal coffin on wheels.
A coffin. Wow.
And crucially, it has these special airless metal wheels. Think of like a wire mesh structure.
So they can't be popped by shrapnel or bullets. That seems pretty essential for that environment.
And this little robot sets off on a journey that, I mean, it sounds like a movie script. It traveled 64 kilometers. That's 40 miles of autonomous and remote-controlled navigation.
40 miles through minefields. Through territory just peppered with Russian attack drones. That's a long drive even on a highway, let alone a battlefield.
And here's the kicker. It actually hit a mine.
It hit a mine and kept going. No way.
It did. It struck an anti-personnel mine. The explosion damaged one of the wheels, blew it apart, really.
Yeah.
But because they are those metal cage structures, the remaining rim was enough.
Unbelievable.
It drove another 23 miles on the rim.
That is just pure tenacity. A little robot limping through the mud to save a soldier.
It reached him. The soldier climbed out of his hole, opened the armored lid, laid down inside this casket, and closed it. And the robot drove him home.
And he made it back alive.
He made it. The robot was even attacked by a Russian drone on the way back, but the armor held. This was a historic precedent. It was the first time a robot successfully extracted a human from a zone where human rescuers had failed repeatedly.
It represents such a massive shift. I mean, we talk about robotic shields, but this is literal. It's preserving Ukraine's most valuable asset, which is its people. But why is this necessary now? What has changed that makes human extraction so deadly?
We have to define the death zone. The front line isn't what it used to be. It's not just a line in the dirt where you shoot at the other guys.
Yeah, it's deep.
It's a zone about 20 kilometers deep that is just saturated with surveillance. The battlefield has become transparent. If you move a tank, it's seen. If you march a column of troops, it's destroyed. If you drive an ambulance, it's a target.
So you can't use traditional evacuation vehicles. An ambulance will be blown up in seconds.
Exactly. And this has led to a technological arms race that is moving at, breakneck speed. To survive in the death zone, you need tech that resists jamming. The sources mentioned fiber optic drones.
Those are the ones with the spool of wire, right? It sounds primitive, unspooling a wire like a kite, but it's actually really high tech in this context.
It's brilliant physics. Electronic warfare works by jamming radio frequencies. But a fiber optic drone sends its signal through a physical cable. You can't jam a glass cable with a radio wave.
So they're immune.
Immune to the primary defense the Russians have. It allows Ukrainian operators to fly with perfect video clarity right up until impact.
And on the defensive side, we're seeing acoustic detection.
Yes. Microphones distributed across the front line that are specifically listening for the frequency of FPV motors. It's like a passive radar system, but for sound. It gives soldiers those few vital seconds to take cover. It's a constant cat and mouse game.
Incredible.
There was even a report in our stack about a robot rescuing another robot.
Or robot tow truck.
Essentially. The 4th Rubiz Operational Brigade sent a UGV to retrieve a broken one. It's the first robot rescuing robot mission. It shows how the logistics chain itself is becoming unmanned.
This brings up such a stark contrast in strategies. We're seeing Ukraine lean hard into this tech to save lives, the robotic shield. And on the other side, well, the reports about Russian tactics are grim.
The contrast couldn't be sharper. The sources describe Russia's strategy as a meat grinder. They're infiltrating with these small groups, sometimes just 2 or 3 men, using motorcycles, ATVs, even golf carts.
Golf carts, like actual unarmored golf cart in a war zone.
Chinese-made desert cross vehicles. Yes, essentially golf carts. Their theory is that armor is useless because drones pierce it anyway, so speed is their only defense. They try to rush across that death zone before the swarm can get them.
But the cost must be.
The cost is horrific. They are dancing, yes, but at a rate of maybe 70 meters per day.
70 meters, that's less than a football field. For all those lives.
And for that 70 meters, they are paying a massive price. Ukraine, on the other hand, is adopting an asymmetric strategy. Human preservation as a strategic metric.
Which means?
It means if a machine can take the risk, the machine takes the risk. They aren't trying to match Russia man for man. They can't. The demographics don't support it, so they're matching them machine for man. Ukraine aims to produce 7 million robotic systems in 2026.
7 million. That number is staggering. That's more robots than there are soldiers on both sides combined.
It is, and it signals that the war has changed permanently. It's no longer about who has the most battalions. It's about who has the most efficient autonomous systems. It is smart warfare versus brute force warfare.
So let's zoom out a bit. We're calling this the Pokrovsk paradigm. But why Pokrovsk? Why is everything happening around this one city?
Geography is destiny. Pokrovsk is the linchpin. It's a vital logistics hub for the entire Donbass region. It sits on the main road and rail lines that supply the Ukrainian forces in the east. If you look at the map, there's a fortress belt.
These are the cities of Sloviansk, Kramatorsk, Kostiantynivka, and Pokrovsk.
Correct. These cities form a shield. If Pokrovsk falls, it fractures that shield and opens the door for Russia to push towards the Dnieper River. It destabilizes the entire eastern front.
And what's the status right now? The breaking news said the rescue happened near Pokrovsk.
The city is partially surrounded. Russian forces are pushing from the south and the east. But, and this is important, Ukrainian forces still hold the north. It's a stalemate in terms of territory. Russia gained less than 1% of Ukrainian territory in all of 2024.
That is a tiny amount for a so-called superpower offensive. It really puts that whole stalemate narrative into perspective.
It does. But while the map looks static, the nature of the fighting has evolved into this roboticized positional warfare. It's a high-tech siege.
And politically, how does this all play out?
Well, Russia's still demanding the annexation of these regions. They want the territory. Ukraine refuses to trade land for peace, and they're relying on this technological backbone, these 7 million robots, to hold the line against a much larger force.
So they're betting that superior tech and morale can outlast sheer mass.
That's the bet. And Pokrovsk isn't just a city. It's a testing ground for the future of war.
It's the crucible.
It is. The Pokrovsk paradigm proves that the democratization of air power, these cheap drones available to every infantry squad, allows a smaller force to achieve results that used to require airstrikes or elite special forces.
It's fascinating and terrifying at the same time. You know, listening to the story of the swarm rescue and the MUL robot, I keep thinking about what this means for the soldiers of the future.
It raises a very, very provocative question. We are witnessing the end of the human rescue mission in high-intensity zones.
Right, like if you're a commander in 2030, do you even send a human medic into the line of fire?
That's the question. As Ukraine moves toward autonomous swarms and robot evacuations, we have to ask. In a future war, will sending a human soldier to save another human soldier be considered an act of negligence?
That is a heavy thought. If you have a robot that can do it, is it immoral to risk a human?
It completely changes the ethics of command. And furthermore, this isn't just about saving lives, it's about making the capture or killing of soldiers so costly for the aggressor because they have to fight through layers of these robot defenses that offensive war becomes nearly impossible.
A robotic immune system for the entire nation.
Exactly. And that is how Ukraine intends to win.
Well, on that note, we are going to wrap up. It is clear that what is happening in Pokrovsk right now is rewriting the history books, not just for Ukraine, but for military doctrine globally. You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex and Aria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry. And before you go, a final reminder, please subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.